Ooh. What? Don't ask me why I felt the need to type this. Okay. General Kenobi. Are you calling me General Kenobi? I don't know if I'm that handsome. Okay. Does my audio seem alright to you all? I had a busted microphone on my headset, so I just want to make sure there isn't like any feedback or anything. Do, do, do. Okay. I think I'm done listening to myself then. It was quiet at first. Okay, yeah, because I'm like talking in the opposite direction of my microphone. Because you know that's what that's what we do when our computer is a little ways away from our painting table. Yeah, I got all the tools I need to get this started. I'll get the video going here once we hit the official time, folks. Chat disconnected, successfully reconnected. Well, okay, good. All right. 3 people already watching, and it's just a still image. I am flattered. I'm not kidding. I don't know if you guys watch Mark of Chaos with Dave from Mini Wargaming, but he does this great thing before his podcast really gets started where he just whispers real softly into the microphone. It's actually pretty cool. But he'll read people's comments and like whisper in. So if you guys haven't checked Dave's podcast / YouTube broadcast out, you guys might want to sometime. It's an experience of its own. It really is. Okay. How would I rate the Custodes? Okay, so as a guard player, I love them, and because they are the complete opposite of the guard for the Imperium. They're the most elite of the elite. Extremely small units. I got to paint less models. I got to like activate not 130 models every turn when I move and shoot and so forth. But in terms of aside from me just getting joy out of that alone, is I think they perform well, very well, and both the Forge World units and the stock like plastic 40k units that they have through Games Workshop, and I like them all. I think they're a lot of fun, even with some of the nerfs they've gotten recently. I think they're all still pretty viable. I think it's the Mark of Chaos. I think. Hey, Cobbles. Yeah, yeah, I'm excited. Wait, Cobble's here. Wait, Cobbles. Wait. Cobbles. Are you saying? Are you saying somebody? Are you saying you are someone that I know in real life? Because Cobbles was a nickname, so to say, of a dear friend. Is that you, Diet Milk? Are you that? No, surely not. Lies. Lies. In that case, what class was Cobbles? What class was Cobbles? gotta be certain of this. If so, I'm about to be very excited. If not... Oh my god! Okay, my camera's not turned on yet, but it's because I might be crying over here that getting to chat with you, even just through text on YouTube. Buddy, it is beautiful to hear from you. Absolutely beautiful to hear from you. So, okay, guys, let's get this started. All right, and welcome everybody. I'm going to hold a camera here for a minute, and welcome to my live stream. Today I'm going to be talking. Oh, I should talk into the microphone. I am so rude. I don't know how you guys put up with me. Today I'm going to be talking about Astromilitarum tanks, primarily painting and hobbying with them, and then towards the end I want to talk a little bit about gameplay. I'm going to be running this live stream for about an hour and a half. I want to cut it off then because another person on the Warhammer Weekend 2020 group here is streaming right after me. You can find the link to that stream in the description below, along with links to the agenda for today and the agenda for tomorrow. So just in case you guys are just fans of me and you guys want to go check out those other amazing people doing all of this wonderful work this weekend to bring some joy after the cancellation of the Warhammer Weekend 2020 event. So thank you all for joining me. It is good to see you all through text and your little pictures when you type. So to start off, I wanted to treat you all to something really special. And for the first time ever, I have put every tank model that I own out on display at one time. This is the beginning of me photographing my entire army for the first time also. I'll be doing that over the next week. I'll be putting every unit I have out on a gigantic frickin' table wherever I find one and photographing them. So let's start out with this. So I hope you all can see it. This is what I have collected. So we can see here I got a definite decent array, and it's not quite everything I own, but it is most of it. This is everything that I have painted and built myself. I own models that I did not build and paint as well for my Cadian armory, but these are just the ones that I've done. So we can see here on the left is most of my artillery, my Hydra, Wyvern, Death Strike, Manticores, Basilisks. In the back row there, we got all my Lords of War, Macarius Vulcan, Stormlord, Baneblade, Shadow Sword, Crassus Armored Transport. In the middle row and one in the front, we got my Leman Russes, to include Knight Commander Pask there, if my camera could focus, worth anything. And then I got a couple Hellhounds. I got a Trojan from Forge World, 4 Chimeras that are finished. I have others that are in progress. And then 2 quad guns, the Thud guns. So I got 2 of those as well. And so that's pretty much most of what I've painted. Oh, wait. I'm lying to you all. I just remembered somewhere, I have 3 artillery carriages also from Forge World. Earthshaker artillery carriages. I don't know where I've put those. I can't quite remember. I'll have to look around. So that's a shame. Those are beautiful models. I need to find them. And I got the Deathcore Krieg that go with them. But mostly I used to run them as my Cadians. But right now they're way overcosted. And I hope that gets fixed when they do the changes for the new Forge World books that they've teased. So that'll be amazing. Okay, so let's get the camera back in place here. Boop, bada boop. I want to be the very best. All right. I don't quite like that angle. Okay. That's a little bit better of an angle. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do, pig. Okay. So, let me get back. And God, I'm still excited that uh, Cobbles is here with me. Okay, so I want to start out. I got a few different armored vehicles here, along with some that are dusty and dirty because sometimes I get hobby ADD and I forget to finish them up. So I got three of them, all still in the working stages here. So I don't. If you all follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen all three of these in those works. I can also adjust my camera zoom and so forth. So let's. I got it set up for autofocus. Simon, all right. Let's see. Not quite. Not quite. Not quite. Not quite. Oh wait, forgot. I need to check my real-time image. What? Oh yeah, that's awful. Okay. And I guess that is the best focus. Okay. All right, we'll keep it on autofocus for now. Um, so with each of these, there are different stages of completion. So I just want to show those real quick. And what I got is here's a Death Strike I've done. I've got it, you can see it's not fully assembled, but it's started. And then I got a Basilisk in which it is, all the base colors are done on this. I got the blacks and the grays and the reds, greens, tans. All that is done on this model. And then the third one I have is the one I've been working on most recently. And so it is the Minotaur. Oh, I love this model. It's got beautiful interior details, as Forge World models do. You can see the gun there. You can barely see the driver. I hate that I had to hide him. You guys can find me crying on Instagram when I did that. But he's there. And so I'm going to use all three of these as examples of different ways or about the different ways of like painting guard armors and tanks. So the first thing that I want to cover is sub-assemblies. And my Manticore in progress, or my Death Strike in progress here, is a great example of that. And so what I've done is I've left off the missile, this side rail for the missile tray, and I've also left off the actual missile tray itself, so I could get into all of the details and get these things painted. Now, what it also allowed me to do, and why I also stress sub-assemblies, so kind of like practice putting this together and think about where you can get your brush in and do various things. You know, if I got my brush and if I don't think I can reach back in there and get that detail the way that I would be happy with, then I probably want to do some sub-assemblies here and leave things apart and then glue them together later. I just need to be careful about how I glue them together. You typically don't want to glue paint to paint. You do want to do plastic to plastic, especially if you're using a plastic glue. It's the only way you can do it. Otherwise, your plastic glue will eat through the paint but not quite bond the plastic as well. So just keep that in mind. You may have to like scrape things clean after you've painted them and so forth. So aside from the sub-assemblies, the other amazing thing in this world is magnets. How do they even work? They're magic, right? Magnets are just magic. I don't know. I think so. So that's a joke, obviously, folks. So a good example of this is my Lehman Russes. So I got one here, and what I've done with my Lehman Russes is I wanted to make sure that I could swap out the barrel. These both kits, both the battle cannon kit and the one with the demolisher cannon and punisher cannon, have various barrels that you can change in and out. Some of them are as simple as, well, with this one, actually, what I've done is I've glued the turret together, but with magnets. And so I have placed teeny tiny little magnets down in here to magnetize the turret, and then I glued those in, bored them out, glued them in, and then my barrels come out separately. And this way, all I got to do is lay it in place and snap. There it goes. I've actually done the same thing also with my tank commanders that I put in the turrets. So it's another great thing that you can do. So in case you want to like make it a tank commander, not make it a tank commander, thumbs up. Like, try that out, and definitely buy some magnets when you start modeling Warhammer, or any models really, any tabletop wargaming models. Get various sizes, and also if you, for the heavier something is, like this turret and the battle cannon on it are really light in plastic weight, so I barely needed any magnets to hold this together and keep it in place. Never am I like on the gaming table playing and my turret comes apart. Look at that. I can hold it upside down, bloop bloop bloop, not coming apart, right? Just with those 4 tiny little magnets. But if you need something stronger, but you don't have a lot of, say you don't have a lot of surface area, right? Because magnets, magnets come up to, like, I've seen them for wargaming, especially being sold in like 1/4-inch diameters. And that's great for things like knights or other big models that you want to put together. But here's the other thing. I got these from the Magnet Baron. And what you can also do is get deep magnets. Magnets that have greater depth, but the actual end of them is not as big. So these are 5/32 and 3/16 depth magnets, 4mm by 5mm, and I use these on my custodies to hold them on their bikes. They were perfect. They were absolutely amazing, and they hold my custody bikes on their stands better than anything I've ever used. I highly recommend checking out if you got to hold more weight at a very small point. Get deeper magnets. That's how these work. It's magic, but deeper magnets are like bigger magic. Am I right, Cobbles? Are you still there? So definitely check that out, and something to keep in mind. Okay, so when painting tanks and doing various stuff like that, oh, sorry, I was reading my Instagram messages from the people putting this on. So the other thing to look at, so after magnets, is painting large flat surfaces. So this was the hard lesson I had to learn when I started painting tanks. Actually, Cobbles here was around. More magnets is more magic. When I first started painting, my paint was so thick, I could drop the models I painted and they wouldn't break because the paint was holding them together. So obviously always thinning your paints, but it's really hard to do that on large flat surfaces, whether it's a tank, maybe it's wings on like Mortarion or something like that. It's just really hard to paint those large flat surfaces. So what you often have to do is really thin down your paints, even more so maybe than you normally would, and do layer after layer after layer. For something like a Lehman Russ like this, you may have to do 3 to 4, maybe even 5 layers of paint, depending on how fine of an edge you want on that camo line to get it done well. So what I recommend, I mean, that's a lot of time and effort. And I know we all invest a lot of time and energy in this hobby because we love it and it's beautiful. But what if you don't have time, right? What if time's an issue, but you still want to paint well? Well, then spray some stuff. Spray paint cans. Don't just use any. I use a lot of GW stuff. It's a bit overpriced, but it's a really, really great product, and it goes on really well. So what I will do is I'll base coat all of these with their spray paint cans to get my base colors down. I have Xandri Dust, but Mechanica Standard Gray was easily reachable, so I'm showing this. And I'll do that first. Now, for my camo pattern, so what you need to do is one trick. Use blue tack. This is normally, they make this like hold posters and stuff up on walls, right? It's supposed to be usable again and again and again. You put it up, you tear it off. Look at this. It's moldable. It's malleable. You can make it do what you want it to do. Take many different shapes and forms. So what I do with it, and you can actually see some of the videos on my Instagram, is I will take this and I'll lay it out like this. And then you can do one of two things. You push it down real fine. Make sure you don't get any like overspray down in the crevices. So I'd push it down real deep and hard, and make sure there's no gaps. And then one of two things. Either you can use another rattle can paint to get your second color on, or you can airbrush. I airbrush. I'm not going to go over demonstrating airbrush today. I'm far from a master. I'm far from good at it. I basically just have it just to do these base colors. It's sad that I have such an amazing tool and I don't do anything with it other than that. But that's what you do. You can put this down. You take another color rattle can. You do your second layer. You peel this off. You let it cure. Remember, when it comes to paints and glues and cements, they have a curing time, a time in which they set up and they kind of lock in place better. It might be dry, but dry doesn't mean fully cured. And the same can be said sometimes with certain aerosol spray cans, or even airbrush paints and so forth. So they all have different curing times. Make sure you've let it sit for a while, and then begin peeling your blue tack off. So that'll help prevent the risk of like tearing off maybe the first layer of paint you've already put down. And that's how, for the last 7 years, oh my God, I think it has been that long. Cobbles, correct me if I'm wrong though. And that I have been doing this. That's been my technique, and I've never turned back. I've never needed to adjust this once I adopted this as my way of doing camo. It's absolutely wonderful. So do that. And then, of course, you already showed you all, when it comes to my tank treads and stuff, I leave them off. You can see they're not here on my death strike. I leave them off. I paint them metallic with a metallic spray can, or maybe I used to brush them. I don't brush them on anymore. And then I put them on later. I put them on after I've done my camo pattern. It saves me a lot of time and effort. Now, when I'm going to go over this later, I cover my tracks in mud. So you're like, well, Sergeant Steele, why would you paint these metal if you're going to cover them in mud? Well, depending on which tank it is, I like to expose the treads a little more here and there. And one thing I do before I do that, and so now I'm actually going to start painting with you all a little bit, is I shade the tracks before I paint them. And this way I can let the mud not take over all of the metal, and I can leave some exposed, but with the earth shade on there, it helps to give us this idea like there's all kinds of little details going on your model, right? Really bringing that model to life. And I think that's one of the goals of your painting, is how does the model, sitting still, tell a story all on its own? Just like if it was a 2D canvas painting. How can you do that? And one way to do it is paying attention to the little details like that. Where is my brush? There it is. Haha. So, when it comes to shading your model in general, especially something I'm looking at, so my models are mostly all warm colors. So you should use warm shades. So with that, you don't have to go, the default is a Graxar shade, right? We all got 40 pots of this, and wham, my focus is way off. Boop, boop, boop. Come on, focus. There we go. A Graxar shade, right? We all got 5 or 6 pots of this. We also have a bunch of non-oil. Non-oil is great too. You can use non-oil. I mostly use a Graxar shade. But here's another, a couple others that you can use actually that are warm shades. If you're painting in warm colors like I am. And you can either use Reikland Flesh Shade or Seraphim Sepia also. Seraphim Sepia. Focus. I need to. This is when I should get my focus tool back out so I don't have to sit here and play with the camera. Okay, it's not going to focus. But anyways, Reikland Flesh Shade or Seraphim Sepia. When using Reikland Flesh Shade, Um, I usually like to really water this down with Lamy and medium, and I'll shade all over with it. It does a great dirty. It gives a great dirty look to it. Now, Seraphim Sepia does that automatically, whether you water it down or not. But if you're going to do an overall wash, if you're going to wash your whole model, you get some Lamy and medium, which is their pigmentless compound, and get that first, then mix some of this in, and then brush it over your whole model. And that's a great way to just instantly shade everything, absolutely everything on your model, and get it done quickly. But I'm a little more meticulous. I really like to get into details on these because armor is just, it's the bread and butter for me. When I put a basilisk on the table, just set it down. I'm happy. I'm so happy. So, okay. Real quick. So I got my pot. I'm going to get in here and get some Agrax. And then I start to just kind of shade in on the tracks a little bit. And feel free to ask questions, guys. Like it says, you can see I got a little bit of an agenda there, but it's open to you all to ask anything you want or to chat. You can pick on me because you beat me in my most recent bat rep. I see you there. Yeah, I see you. Just let me know if you guys got any questions or anything that you'd like to go over about guard tanks. So I'm going to put this on pretty liberally. I'm not watering it down. I want the tracks to get dirty. I want them to get a little darker. I'm making sure none of it pulls up too much. When it pulls up, that's a bit problematic. These shades will get glossier the thicker they go on. So you want to make sure you're not pulling up too bad. Also, make sure you mix them well, or otherwise they'll get glossy anyways if you don't shake up your pot real well. What's my favorite vehicle in the Astra Militarum? Man, that's like, it's like asking somebody, what's your favorite feature of the Emperor of Mankind? He's just all around amazing. Oops. Drop my brush. I'm thinking about this. I got them all next to me. I can just sit here and stare at them in all their glory. I'm going to say the Macaris Vulcan. The Macaris Vulcan for sure. I get more joy out of putting that model on the table than any other. It's effective in game. Like it's just a good model to have, and it does a lot of good work. But at the same time, it looks really awesome. It's a wonderful model. Forge World did an amazing job. So I'm going to go with Macaris Vulcan. There you go. That's the official record. I don't think I've ever really been able to choose until now. I've always done that right there, like where I stutter. I can't quite make a decision. You think it's fun to play against? That means a lot. One guy that you also like playing against that vehicle. It's a bit boring to play in a way. If you guys don't know the rules in the Macaris Vulcan, if it sits still, so not like a Lehman Russ where it like moves less than half its speed. No. If it sits completely still and doesn't move in the preceding movement phase, it can shoot its Vulcan Mega Bolter twice. So it goes from 15 shots to 30 shots. It's devastating. It's insane. It's beautiful. Okay. So I like it a lot. And I'm glad to hear it's fun to play against. Sometimes, so I find that a little boring. I usually have to have it sit still. I mean, it's still decently effective if it moves. I mean, 15 strength 6 minus 2 damage shots is nothing to scoff at in 40k. That's 5 short of what Knights do with their Vulcan Mega Bolters. Just on the reg. Let alone the Macaris getting to shoot it more. And you can also do some cool, and you may need to move it. Like if I actually equipped it with flamers, those heavy flamers, which are just expensive, but I could do that. If I did that, I'd probably move it more often. And the other thing is, it's a Lord of War, so you don't got to worry about moving it and shooting. Look at this. I'm already getting into the tactics and play. Oh man, I love you guys. This is great. Look, I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm putting some shade down, and I'm already talking about my last agenda item a little bit. Guys, you guys all are awesome. So it yeah, it it can really do a lot more, especially if you pair it with like a Trojan. Although lore wise, I don't. Trojans are supposed to like support artillery, and but the rules right now is just that any vehicle of the same regiment can re-roll all failed hit rolls. So you can just put a Trojan behind it and drive a Macarius Vulcan around, and it will still be quite devastating because 15 shots re-rolling everything is nearly just as effective as 30 shots with no re-rolls, right? Um, Not as effective, but it's nearly as effective. So it's a great strategy and a great thing to do. It throws your opponent off too. Tell you what, if you, you start driving your guard Lord of War around the table. Oftentimes, people familiar with playing Astra Militarum will be a bit confused. What inspired me to collect Warhammer 40k? Well, that's a funny question. Also, okay, tracks are almost done being shaded here for the things that are visible. So Cobbles was there. Diet Milk in the chat here was there when I first started collecting and playing Warhammer 40k, and it actually took a lot of convincing to get me to play. I wasn't inspired. I didn't do sci-fi. In fact, this is still the only sci-fi that I do. So I'm a fantasy fiction, like Tolkien-esque D&D type person, and in terms of like what I'm into. So I was not inspired to begin with, and my friend Daniel at the time, was trying to get all of us roommates to play. Actually, me, Diet Milk, and if you guys know Lively Minis, we all lived together at one point. If you guys don't know Lively Minis, go check him out on Instagram. He's pretty awesome sauce and has an amazing Tal army. He's also a filthy heretic, and I will smash him the next time we play together. All right. So Dan is, by the way, I don't tell a short story. In case anybody didn't know that yet, I don't tell short stories. Dan kept trying to get us to play, and Derek was convinced. I think MJ was modestly convinced. Our friend Corey was modestly convinced, and we're all like, okay, yeah. And I was I was still being a holdout. I was like, well, I don't know. And then he showed me the Astra Militarum. This is my first army, and he showed that to me, and I went, wait a second. So in this universe, there are all these crazy monsters and super soldiers and demons and space elves. Okay, space elves, and then you have just normal everyday people running around with little laser guns. They're the weakest thing in the Imperium, but they still do it. They still fight, and I was like, and they look like regular, like it looks like a lot like World War I, World War II military. A lot of it does, and I was like, okay, I can get into that, right? I can get into that narrative, and I found that interesting. At the time, I was also in the Army, in the United States Army, and so yeah, I was also kind of like, yeah, I'm in the Army. I should collect the Army. And so I got some soldiers, and I started out with a Chimera and one Lehman Russ, and I've never looked back. I've been so inspired since. I lost. That was back at the end of 6th edition, the start of 7th, and I lost every game. I lost every single game that I played, and I never cared. I had tons of fun playing the endless millions, the endless, nameless millions dying for the Emperor. I've been inspired since. I still am. As you can tell, I'm excited about that kind of lore and narrative, and what the Guard is. It's wonderful. So, okay, I'm done with that story, in case there is another question. But, all right, so I got the shade on there. So what I do, I appreciate these underneath. And then when it comes to some of the other details here, like on the sides and stuff, I get the GW shading brush. It comes to a real fine tip, and I will just barely load it up with some wash and get in there and get those recesses. Okay, when I paint tanks, I do recess painting. So I'll get in there like this, and I'll get that shade down in that crevice. Takes a little longer, but I think it's well worth it. If I get too much on my brush, that's all right. I'll just get it in that crevice and then spread it around. There we go. Get it in that recess. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Yep. Yeah, get the rivets around it too. That's tedious, but with these big brushes, you can go far and get a lot of stuff at one time. You get on a paintbrush, the length of the hairs is called the well, and the longer your well, the more paint it can hold, and you can kind of use it for longer. But still, don't forget to clean and rinse your brush out, or you'll ruin that well real quick. Yeah, yeah, we were playing Magic the Gathering at the time. Still, it was like my third re-entry into Magic the Gathering, and that's right when Wizards of the Coast, I felt like their business model got a little more problematic. They started releasing stuff much quicker, smaller sets though, hardcore gouging on card prices even more than what it was historically, and so I didn't stick around with Magic long. Built one or two decks, stuck with it, and Diet Milk there beat me in every match. I never beat you, Diet Milk. Never once. Maybe that's why I got so hard into 40K. I just got sad losing at Magic all the time. Probably not. I'm actually a pretty good loser, I think. I never mind losing. Typically, I've gotten salty a couple times. Actually, my very last 7th edition tournament match, second to last match, I got salty. So I just straight up told a guy, I was like, "You're not fun to play against. Your army's not fun to play against, and I'm not having a good time." I was just honest with him. That was rough. But anyways, 7th edition got real bad. Magic the Gathering. All right. So I'm getting those details pretty good. You guys can even see, even if the camera's not quite perfectly in focus, you guys can see what that wash is doing for that and why I like a recess wash a lot. I'm not going to do all this side panel while we're here on the stream because I still need to do the white on the skull with wings and the ribbon there with the words on it. And I usually put words on my ribbons. So I have to think about what cool Latin phrase I want to put on there. But that's something I can do as well. All right. Just getting that in there. I feel like Bob Ross right now, except not nearly as cool, and I have no hair. So, he had that cool fro, man. Really cool fro. Okay. So that's my recess shading on there. And kind of how I do that. You can even do it with, like I said, a big brush. As long as it comes to a fine point, you got a deep well to keep going. Keep putting this in there. And don't worry if you make mistakes, right? Recess shading is a bit more detailed than just overall washing. But don't worry if you make mistakes. That's one of the great reasons to weather your model. To do chipping and carbon soot and other types of weathering is so that you can cover those up later. It gives you an opportunity you didn't plan for to do something on your model. Happy little tanks. Yep, happy little tanks. Shooting rounds at heretics, killing filthy space Xenos. It's great. Absolutely great. Speaking of which, I often contemplate if the Imperium would have hated the Xeno races so much had the Orcs not tried to destroy them in M32. Really blame it on the Orcs. Maybe the Imperium would have left all the aliens alone, and everybody would have been happy together. I don't know. I don't know much about the 30K era of stuff. I'm more I just mostly do 40K. Okay. So, shade your treads, right? That's my technique. Recess shading is what I like to do often, so I get into that as well. Oops, I clicked off a screen I needed. Do-do-do-do. Also, y'all are awesome. Okay. So real quick, so the next thing to do for your tanks is one of the things I like to do with weathering is two things. Chipping, and I also like to do mud effects. So to do mud, I'm actually going to grab one of my mini tanks I've not mudded yet, and I'm going to mud one with you guys. Which one should I grab? Yeah, actually, why not this Lehman Russ here? The same Lehman Russ I had a moment ago. Okay. So I'm going to set these off to the side here. The side being over here at my painting, or my desktop. Okay. There we go. Got my tank here. Now, when I mud, this is actually one of the few times I will not use a GW product to accomplish this. You can use the technical paints that GW offers to do cool mud effects. Say like, oh, fiddlesticks. There we go. Let's just, I'm going to take this off autofocus and I want to start. Aha! So you can use something like Sterling Mud, right? But these are like almost $8 a pot. And you could pretty much use like half to a third of a pot to do one Astromill tank. But that's something you can do. You can also just dry brush. But the problem with dry brushing is it doesn't create any depth, right? So the mud appears absolutely as thin as could be on your tracks. And I just don't find that convincing. So one of the things you can do is get something like this. Vallejo makes it. This is Vallejo Thick Mud. And you use something like this, a large container of texture compound. I think this cost me about $6. And I could do a whole army with this if it doesn't dry out before then. So I highly recommend this. In fact, this is brand new. I just bought this. See, still got the seal. Okay. So brand new pot. Oh man, yeah, I got to remember that. This is brand new pot. Okay. Brand new pot of this looks like this when you first open it. Now in this is actual like basically little strands of like twig and things like that. This is an amazing material to be painting your models with. Also, I'm now covered in mud. Hold on. Gotta throw this away. Yeah. Wait. Do I need to keep this seal? No, there's one built in the lid. Okay. Just gotta make sure. Didn't want to ruin my stuff right after I just bought it. Okay. So then, what I like to do is I like to get an old brush, really bad old brush here. You could also use a molding tool. And I like to just dip into this. See, get some of that on there. And then I just start applying it to the tank treads. And very, I like to even think about it this. My Astromill is always moving forward, never back. So here, I'm going to adjust my focus again real quick. So with that, that's optimal. Okay. So with that, if they're always moving forward, that means as it drives, the mud comes back this way and comes up and gets flung up on the tracks, right? So if there's distribution of mud, it's probably going to be heaviest on the rear of the tank. And then as the mud gets flung off the tracks, there'll be a little less towards the front of the tank. So keep that in mind. See, those are the little details that you can do for your narrative. I'm just patting this on here. By the way, I'm a terrible singer, so I'm sorry to everybody. All right. Get a little of that there. And see, I'm like dabbing this. I don't even care what happens to this brush once I'm done with it. I've been using this brush for years, actually, just to do this technique. All right. Get the sides there. All right. See, it's a little heavy here on the back where the mud will first come up. I'll put it a little heavier, a little thicker. All right. So let me get a nice up-close shot of this. All right. Where's the right focal point? Okay. So you can see there where this has this kind of, it has a texture to it. Right? Oh, yeah, there we go. Has a texture to it. And you can see the lines, the striations, and kind of the sand that's in there to help give this some texture. So it looks like thicker mud. But you can also see where there's some moments I'm letting the metal still show through. I don't want to cover all my metal. Because, well, I used to, so I was an engineer in the Army and I spent a lot of times on construction projects. And with that, there was, I got to watch a lot of treads move through dirt and soil, especially muddy soil. We're always working. Being in the National Guard, we only had a few weeks to get our work done, so there was no delay in construction. We just moved on. We kept going. So I've been around a lot of them, and I could say that oftentimes they would like fling the mud off, and some of the track would be exposed, and a lot of them wouldn't. And it was always interesting to really look at them, unless the mud was really, really, really bad. In that case, you just hardly saw any of the tracks and gunked up in there. But on the top, they were mostly kind of exposed. It would get huge clumps down here on like the lower part of the tracks there. Oh, I need to change my focus settings again. Whoopsie. Autofocus. Okay. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to put this stuff on, be a little, if you want to like give it that narrative of like, oh, the tank's always moving forward, then make it a little thicker. Look, get some globs back here on the back, right on the treads themselves. The mud's going to fall off and land on some of these flat surfaces, so don't forget to like get those as well. All right. It's great. So this will take a little while to cure, though. It takes a little while to get on here and to cure. But then what I would do after I get all this done, I would dry brush my tank. I would dry brush the mud. And, oh wait, I skipped a step. Shame on me. So one thing I don't like about this Vallejo thick mud here, it's this brown mud, is I think it's a little too reddish. It's a little too red for me. You can see that there. It's kind of that reddish brown. I don't like that. I actually want it to be darker mud. So I will wait till this dries, and then I will go back over it with a shade. I'll actually hit it again with an Agrax Earth Shade. But this time I'll use a much bigger shading brush. I'll use something about this size and shade it real quick, real dirty, and get more of that done. And that helps take some of the red out of it, that Agrax Earth Shade, and will help get it to about the hue that I would like for it to be. So hue is, when talking color, that's kind of, if you think of the rainbow, right? And so when you change the hue, you change that color range, maybe from blues to purples to greens to yellows to reds, yada, yada, yada. Look that up on somebody else who's much more professional and well-trained than me. I do not have a degree in art. I got a degree in buildings. I'm an architect, so not an artist. Although obviously, because I'm an architect, dabbled into art as well. Oh, look, I'm painting off camera. Guys, I'm terrible at this. I don't know how you guys put up with me. All right. See how my brush is sprawling out? I don't even care. It's allowing me to spatter the mud even more. There we go. Get up in there. Down on those flat surfaces like I was talking about before. It comes down off the sides here. All right. There we go. Now, for the bottom of the tank here, do that as well. You know, when it's sitting on the tabletop, you want this to look realistic, like it's really treaded through mud. So get in there. Do the bottom. All right. Plus, who knows? Maybe those filthy heretics flip one of these over upside down. Then you could model an escape hatch on the bottom, have your troops get out, and shoot those heretics in the face with their las pistols. Battle's not over, even when your equipment breaks. Battle's not over. Keep going. All right. Here we go. I also then like to do, you splash a little up on the front here. Like that, on that front panel. Yeah, all right. And then you splash a little on the back as well, like that. Okay. All right, get a little there, get a little there. You can even brush this. This is brushable because it's got some pigment color in it, so you can brush with it as well. Yeah, we do need to do that. I'd probably kill a few more plague marines if I had my guys get out and fight. Um, oh, there we go. All right. Actually, that could be a fun narrative. If it's like a kill team and your tank crew has to escape after your tank's destroyed. Oh, man. This sounds awesome. Nope. Nope. Yes. Yes. That one guy. Yes. All right, real quick. I'm going to boot up my Instagram real quick. Do. Okay. And, sorry, I'm going to boot up my YouTube video or Instagram video real quick just to let people know that I am over here real quick because some people may not have. How do you go live on the Instagram? I don't. I've done this. I've done this before. Oh, so sorry for my dogs, guys. So sorry. Okay. Yeah. I actually don't know how to do it. Oh, see? Should have practiced this ahead of time. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. This is... Yeah. Yeah, well. Oh, wait, what's this? Getting another message. On fire. Oh, thank you. Okay. So, here we go. Was going to go on Instagram Live for a moment. I'm just going to keep going with this on YouTube. All right. Let's see. Oh, there's another press and hold. Oh. Add to your story. Oh. I took a picture. Yeah. Oh, live! There, I found it. Whoa! All right. Hey, Instagram folks. Yeah, thanks, James, for helping me out with that. Thank you guys for also being kind to let me stream this on YouTube. I know a lot of your guys' stuff is on Twitch and Instagram for this Warhammer Weekend 2020. For those who might have missed that, I am only streaming primarily on YouTube right now. Hey, my buddy Chris is here. Oh, hey, no, I'm not abandoning my tanks. Hey, guys. Hey, look, I'm. Some of you are watching in two places. If you guys want to see in detail what I'm working on, head on over to my YouTube channels. What I wanted to let you guys know. The link's in my bio. So just go to my page, go to the link, and head on over to YouTube. I'm about halfway through my tutorial. I got about another 45 minutes left. And then the link for the next guy who's doing the next cool thing in this awesome Warhammer weekend is in the description on my YouTube video. So as soon as I cut my stream, guys, go over and support the next person. Check the agenda out. Oh, it paused. Okay, check the agenda out on Nerd Princess's website. Link is also in my YouTube description, and do that. Hey guys. So yeah, go over on, if you guys want to watch more, go over on YouTube. That's where I'm reading a lot of the comments. And in fact, Golden Sea Gamer, 40K guy, Warhammer 40K, it's so awesome that he's watching me on both right now. So, man, there's a lot of you waving. Maybe I'll just keep the Instagram up. Maybe I'll just do both here. Okay, I'll just do both. So, about halfway through my tutorial. Like I said, if you guys want to watch the whole thing or you want to see more, go on over to YouTube. That's where I'm primarily streaming this. You guys are just kind of watching a secondary feed here from my phone. Good to see you. Hello. Man, you guys are so kind. So, a lot of people, wow, you guys are really watching. Okay, so only 8 over, only a few over on the YouTube right now. Most everybody's watching over there. Okay, so like I said, this is pretty much done. You can see what that looks like. You can see I've spattered some on the bottom down here for the Instagram folks. I'm painting a tank. You can see it over on YouTube. And so I've spattered the mud there down at the bottom, and I'll dry brush this later. You can see I've actually not gone very far up with this. And that's because when my two dry brushes that I'll do with this are Steel Legion Drab and use Shabty Bone. And I'll actually do those dry brushes to make it look like the mud has gone up higher and kind of dried off and then flaked off even. To add that cool transition effect of wet mud to dry mud. So it's a thing I commonly do with my tanks. Let me see. Actually, I need to like lay this down upside down to dry. So we'll lay that over there. Let's see if I get. Oh man, my Hydra is a great example. So let's turn the autofocus off and. Okay, so you can see here on the Hydra that I've dry brushed in a few different colors, and you can kind of see what that effect is. This one's a little more heavier, but I think it really comes out. Oh, actually, this side I did even better. And you can see that transition. Let me find another model. I actually don't think this is one of my best ones. Who else have I done really well? Man, I've painted a lot of you guys. God, I've painted a lot of tanks. Okay. Not as many as SDK over there, obviously. But here's another one. It's weathered too already. It's already got the chipping and all that. So you can see what that dry brush really does. How am I able to paint so well? I can say that it's practice. You can ask... I know. Sorry, guys. If you're watching on Instagram, I'm actually doing all the up close stuff on YouTube. So apologize for that. So YouTube links in my bio, and you guys can get more information of it there. Awesome. Thanks for the subscription. Yeah. So go to the YouTube, and this is where I'm using my high def camera to kind of zoom in a little better. All right. So, yeah, you can ask Diet Milk there on YouTube, and I was not good when I first started painting. And it was really awful. My models would hold themselves together with the paint alone. I even proved it. I took a Chimera, my first Chimera I ever painted, and I tossed it down on the ground, and it didn't break. In a hobby shop. So I think there was carpet on the floor and some concrete. But still, it should have broken, and it didn't. So it's been a lot of practice, and I watched a lot of other people. Like I'm doing a tutorial now. I watched a lot of others. I am not a master at painting, I can tell you that, but I've learned a lot, and I learned a lot by being patient and watching others. Uncle Adam, if you guys know Uncle Adam on YouTube, he helped me a lot. So he was one of the folks that I went to a lot and got advice. So check that out and do that. Okay, so that's kind of the first piece about like weathering. There is I do the mud. Mud's usually one of the first things that I do on my vehicles. One of the next things I do is weather chipping. So like I said, if you want to see this a little better, then definitely head on over to YouTube. Link in my bio for those on the 11 of you watching on Instagram there. But let's talk about chipping. And I think this is something that can be great, and it can be used in a couple different applications. So let's look at my very first basilisk I ever painted. I didn't originally weather and chip this. I'm going to change my camera focus again here real quick so we can see some of the details. Okay. Like you can see there, I've chipped here on the shield panel on the basilisk. Like I said, for those of you guys on Instagram, check it out on YouTube. And I did that to actually cover up a mistake. I didn't do my transfer correctly, and it was kind of shiny and glossy. So I helped cover it up. You can still see the transfer. It's still a skull, but it also helped get rid of that gloss. I also chip, let's see, let's find a good spot here. Oh, right here up on the track guards. I chipped that right here on the front. You can see my chipping that I've done. So how do I do my chipping? And there's many different ways you can do it. And I can say that mine's not the best way, but it's a good way to do it. And that is doing sponges. The problem with sponge chipping is that you're layering paint on top of other paint. Typically, when something chips in real life, it takes away, right? Like it removes something off the top and exposes the metal or the rust or the primer underneath the paint. And that's normally what we're going for with chipping. That's the effect you want to create. And the problem with sponging is that if you really get down in that detail or you put it on too thick, you can tell it's paint layered on top of paint, and it takes away from what you're actually trying to accomplish, which is making it look like the paint was removed. So you got to make sure if you're going to do the sponging technique, you do it real thin and careful. But I do it that way rather than like the hairspray and the water and the salt and all of that. I just, right time. We all only have so much time, and this is the way I'm able to do it quickly, and so I've chosen to stick with that. Okay, I'm going to bring that basilisk back over, and I'm going to do chipping with this basilisk real quick. I'm only going to do a little bit because I normally don't chip until after I have decals on. And additionally, I don't have everything blocked in and painted on this, so I got this basilisk. For those who are just joining on Instagram, it's over on YouTube is where you can see the details of this. I got my camera set up, so it's kind of focused in here on my painting area on YouTube. The dots and sight lines around it. Reading a comment. Thinking about it. Yeah, that'd be a great way to do it. Sorry if you guys can hear my dogs as well too. So, let's do some chipping on here, right? So what I get is a couple little pieces of sponge like this. This is actually just foam that I got out of my battle foam cases, right? So with this, just use this, and so first thing I do is I do my rusty looking chip. Oh wait, to mimic the way the paint layers look. Yes, to pull away. Yeah, I'm actually not as good at that technique. I've tried it. I need to practice it more. That's a really great way to do it. On Instagram, BizCom Painting is talking about a different technique for doing it. And I enjoy that more. When I see other people do it on their models, I like it more. Let's get my... Okay, so first color that I use for my chipping is Rhinoxide. So let's shake this up. All right. If you're on Instagram, don't forget to go on over to YouTube where you can see this. Okay, there we go. So I got my pot open. I take my sponge, and I got these tiny little pieces. I usually like to use smaller pieces of sponge so I can kind of control where it goes. And I'm just going to dab it into the paint here a little bit. Dab. Don't forget, you're on YouTube. Don't forget to ask questions if you guys have any. Then I'm going to, over here on my towel, I'm going to dry it out a little bit. There we go. Hey, Warhammer Mistress just joined, and Tactical Painter, I did. Yeah, you guys... This is primarily over on YouTube, so I apologize, but I came on Instagram to let you guys know it's over there. So feel free to come over and watch. Okay, so here on the tank, let's go ahead and start chipping. And be a little bit indiscriminate, but think about it when you go to chip, okay? What's most likely... Where are places where the paint's going to get peeled away? Hey there, you too, Mistress. Where's the paint probably going to chip away? Sharp edges. Front flat surfaces, right? Things on the front here. The shield, obviously. The shield's probably going to get hit with bullets. And sorry, a Tactical Painter just said something funny on Instagram. Mistress heard me shaking that pot of paint and wondered what he might have been watching. So the flat surfaces is what we're looking at, and sharp edges and so forth. Those are probably the places going to be chipping. Other places that could get a lot of chipping are surfaces like on the back here, the platform, where people walk. So, oh, remember I was talking about sub-assemblies earlier? Yeah. This is one reason why. This is the guy that goes on the back there. There he is. Oh, well, you guys can't see him that well. This is why I got it up on YouTube, so I can try to focus in on details a little better. But I painted the guy separate. I've blue tacked him down to a piece of wood, and I did all of his details. Pictures are already posted up on my Instagram if you guys want pictures of that. So, back to the YouTube demonstration here. And so let's do some chipping. All right. So first, like I said, flat surfaces, right? I've already dabbed this in the paint. I've dried it off some on my cloth. And then I'm going to chip here, especially on the front. I'm going to start with the front of the tank. That's where the most chipping occurs as it moves forward. That I am, Tactical Painter. That I am. I am a veteran. Not a veteran of war, though. Let me clarify that. So, just a service veteran. All right, so I'm dabbing it on here on these flat surfaces. Oh, man, I was sitting here talking to you guys so long, I let the paint dry out on my sponge. All right, here we go. So I'm just dabbing it on there. Now, I'm probably going to have to change the zoom here in a moment to really show you guys what this is doing. I'm sure my camera's probably not capturing it real well with it being on autofocus. All right, get that in there. Get there. Come on. Soak up a little better there, bud. All right. Yeah. Let's see. And on the front here, I'm just going to go all out on the chipping on the front panel. Not too much, though. Too much really starts to take away from the model. So less is more. Thank you. Thank you, Tactical Painter. Do the Mies van der Rohe thing. Less is more. Okay. No, probably no other architecture nerds on the live stream. And don't forget to ask questions on YouTube, guys. If you guys have any more. Okay. So all right. Here we go. I even did a little bit on these panels. Like I said, I wasn't going to because I haven't put my decals on yet. Hi. All right. All right. So, get this on there. I'm not going to finish it right now. Let's get it started. Okay. So let's change the zoom here on YouTube so you guys can see it better. For those on Instagram, this is primarily on YouTube. So let's get on these details here. All right. So you can see, if you're on YouTube, you can see what I've done here on the sponging. And these little spots, and because of the fine foam that I'm using from the Battle Foam cases I own, I'm getting a real fine weathering effect there. Not too thick. You can tell I'm not putting it on like heavy globs or anything. Very light spattering, right? And same over here. Very getting a bit of gloss there. Sorry about that. Very light spattering and all this. There we go. Now you can see it better. All right. So let's do that. And here on the front, you can see I've done the same thing, especially to the guard there. Let me get it up here so it's in focus. There we go. You can see that. See, it's real light. We want to do it lightly. We don't want to do too much. Or it really starts to take away from all the hard work you've done on your camo and everything else. Okay, so let's do, my next color I do is Lead Belcher. Oh, I know. I can't wait to finish. Especially, actually, the launcher on the back, Warhammer Mistress, was talking on Instagram about how good the Basilisk is looking. And I can't wait to put the gunner on it because he's the best gunner I've painted so far for an artillery piece. I was really happy with my Hydra guys, but I'm more happier with him. I may even do a second. I may add a second one. Because this is going to be my most special Basilisk. For like if I do like full payload or something with the new Greater Good rules. Oh wait, forgot to change my camera focus. Sorry guys. I'm glad you guys are tolerating me on YouTube. All right. It should be Desert Yellow. SDKFZ. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen his impressive collection, you need to. Okay. Okay. So let's get the Lead Belcher out. And let's dab this one. Now, so I've already got this kind of rusty brown on here, right? That Rhinox hide. when you go to do your metals, what I like to do, my technique, is I do it a little lighter, right? You don't want to, otherwise you could end up covering up that nice rusty brown you've put on there. So let's keep it light. So what you do is find those brown areas you just did, and you don't have to get over top of them perfectly. Just get around them and lightly dab on them. There we go. Yeah, little happy rusty spots that the tank crews can repaint later. All right, put that on there. Yeah, remember, think about where your chipping may occur, where things are moving, where the vehicle may get shot, where rocks or dirt may damage the vehicle as it's moving. So think about that. Don't just chip anywhere. You could, but think about how you can add narrative to it, right? Think about how you can make more out of your models. How do you tell a story with your model sitting still on the table? And that's how I think is the way to do it. All right. There we go. So let's go back again real quick. Let's get a good focus in on this. For those on Instagram, this is mostly up on YouTube to get the details on my high resolution camera. All right. In fact, oh my God, I'm so sorry about my dogs. Okay. So there we go. Look at that. See how I've done that metal and my brown's still showing through? That's what you want to do, right? With this type of sponging technique. I did one really big blotch there on the front just to have what you call some like dialogue, some contrast, like how much chipping is taking place where. Let's look at that moment there on the shield again. See that? There's still, I think, more brown than there is Leadbelcher on that shield. And that's kind of what you want, I believe. Flavor to taste, though. Oh, man. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I've definitely done the Vallejo mud. Okay. I love it. I can't recommend it enough, especially for tank treads. So, this is how I do my chipping techniques. I think about where I want it, how I want to do it, and then get it on there. Hey, Katie Hobby. Okay, check you later, bud. Hope you have a great weekend. It's gorgeous here, by the way. It's so hard to be inside right now for me. Change my zoom again. Okay, so hard for me to be inside because it's absolutely gorgeous out here in West Virginia in the United States right now. Beautiful. It's so wonderful. Okay. Let's see. The other thing I do with weathering is pigments. I don't get into these a whole lot, but it's another way to do it. So I can't do it on my Basilisk except for the barrel on my heavy bolter. I don't want to do that yet because I haven't shaded the heavy bolter and I haven't done its chipping and stuff, so I don't want to do pigments on it yet. Pigments is always the last thing I do because of how I seal pigments on. So, and with that, I usually seal pigments with my matte varnish that I put on at the very end. Hey, Grogard. For those who are, like I said, joining on Instagram, head on over to YouTube, and that's where you can see the details of this. That's where I got my camera set up to zoom in and so forth. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and end the Instagram because I keep getting distracted. Sorry, guys. So head on over to YouTube, watch on over there. Please ask questions. Taking them. So thank you all. All right. So let's talk about the pigment here. And this is one from Secret Weapon Miniatures. And this is their Exhaust Black. And I use this for obviously exhaust pipes. I also use it for carbon soot on like weapon fire and so forth. So that's where I put this on my vehicle. So let's bring back that Lehman Russ I was painting. Or actually, no. Sorry. Let's use, as a good example, let's use my Minotaur. Dun, 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 dun. So I got these two giant twin barrels here on my Minotaur. And I'm going to go ahead and add some pigment on there to make it look like they've been fired a bunch. And this is kind of one of the other things that I do. So let me find a brush that's going to be good for this. I usually use a garbage brush. All right, here I got a ruined large basing brush, so I'm going to use that. Okay. Let's get this on here. Oh, my stream's almost over too. Yeah, I got to keep going. Okay. Oh gosh. All right. This stuff gets really messy, right? Because it's pigments. It just flies everywhere. So what I like to do is take it and I just kind of like, you get it real heavy on the ends, on the tips of the barrels. Oh, wow. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I need a little more. Okay. Get it on there. Okay, I need some more. I'll get you guys a good zoom here in a moment of this. Actually, let me rotate it so you guys can see it a little bit better. Get it in the center of the camera frame there. Okay. Do. Oh, that's a little better, isn't it? Yeah? Yeah? All right. Oh, man. Got to be careful with this stuff. It will fly everywhere. And it gets everywhere, too. I usually have to, like, vacuum my painting table after using pigments. All right. So get that on there. Get it really heavy up at the tips of the barrels. Don't worry if it kind of, like, strays away any. Here we go. All right. Yeah. Get those done real well. All right. Getting that on there. Yeah, that's what I should have done, is played with this focus a bit more before I did the broadcast today. I'm used to just like, so far I've just hung out with like Lively Minis and we just painted and chatted. We didn't really show off our models a whole lot. This was something new I was trying. All right. So there we go. I got the pigment. Hey, War Mistress is back. Yeah, I know, Curlin. This is, I don't use them often. I mostly use them just for this, for like, carbon soot on exhaust pipes or barrels. So, here I've got them now, on, I'm going to spread it out down here because God, this stuff's going to get everywhere. So I've got it here on the barrels of this, and I think I got it to the consistency I want. And what you want to do, especially with barrels, let the pigments, they'll fall naturally. If you keep just brushing the ends of the barrels, that pigment will naturally kind of like gradiate downward as you paint. And so you'll get this nice effect here, where it looks like the carbon soot there on the barrel kind of fades as it goes down. That's what would happen in real life. If you fired these weapons in real life, or if you fired any firearm in real life, this is what they would do as you work with that. So we can see it there. That's one of my favorite techniques for getting kind of the extra little bringing your model to life type work here for painting. So let's take it back to autofocus real quick. Okay. So on my agenda, I only got 15 minutes left here, guys. So the finer things on painting Imperial armor is I want to say there's no detail too small on your tanks to paint. And it's a good example. I'm going to grab a whole different Lehman Russ here. I'm going to bring it up. And think about what a lot of this stuff is before you paint it. On your turrets here, these little things that stick up are meant to be like infrared reflectors, I think. You've mainly used acrylics with your effects? Really? Wow. If anyone does... Curlin here on YouTube is a buddy of mine from local gaming club, and he's a phenomenal painter as well. I'm glad we're not competing in painting competitions, because I might be scared. I'd be nervous whether I'd win or not. So, okay. I'm going to zoom in here. Let's get some... Come on, there we go. So you guys can, all right, get that focus going again. I got to manually focus my camera. It doesn't autofocus itself real well. All right, so there we go. You can see the lenses, and I've done that real sharp effect. So I've gradiated them um, by using darker reds to brighter reds to oranges to like coyote tans to nearly white. I actually don't go white. I don't do my final highlight with white. Um, and I usually use a very bright tan or a very like off white, like an eggshell white is the closest I'll get to getting those details on there. So yeah, they are a pain, and this is a great way to do it. What I do is I just like these are all 1 or 2 lines of paint, real quick, and I can get all these done. I can paint all these little optics here and these little IR shields, and probably 2-3 minutes. I paint all these, and they're done. So this is a great way to do this, and a quick way to do it. There are other techniques out there. I like doing the angle gradient. It adds a lot. I got a lot of flat armor panels. I got a lot of recesses and highlights on my models, and so I feel like this cool like gradation that I do here with acrylics is a great way to get that detail to pop. So don't overlook it. Same with this isn't complete yet, but same with like your side spawns and weapons. Look, there's little wires there, right? Blue. So this would look even better if I'd finished it, but I made sure not to spare the details of the wires. Let's see. First, start with the solid metallic and then doing light green layer. Yeah, it's a great way to do it. Do you pen wash? No. This is all just recess shading using actually, and surprisingly, if you have a nice, good condition one, the big fat or the pointy GW wash brush is what I use, or any of these deep well fine tip brushes like this for washing. So that's what I've done for all my washing. But don't overlook these little details. You'll thank yourself later. It'll take extra time, but when you get this on the tabletop, you know your opponents are going to look at it longer. They're going to really admire it. They're going to really look at it. Oops, my paint's chipping away there. I need to fix that. It's because I painted it on too thick. I didn't cut out my sponsons well. So make sure you get those details on there. I'm also going to pigment these exhaust pipes as well to make it look like it's been run and used. So just look for those finer details. Find these little things and call them out on your model. And you're going to be real happy about it later. It does a world of wonder for it. I mean, this is going beyond tabletop ready, right? I'm not talking about to get your first game in with all 5 of your Lehman Russes. I'm talking about for when you go to that tournament and you're really proud of your army and you want to make sure others know it too. Okay, back to auto zoom. Okay, so that's kind of the other details now. Real quick, we're gonna shift here rather than talk about the finer things because now I'm covered in pigment and I really need to clean up my table, by the way, before I put anything else on it to paint, or I'm gonna get fingerprints and pigment everywhere. I'm terribly messy with this stuff, guys. So I'm going to switch gears real quick, and I'm going to just talk to you all. Hello. By the way, I've just discovered that my webcam does have like the little, little metal piece where I can put it on a tripod. Right now it's on a selfie stick. Because I didn't know any better. I didn't know it had that on there. It's my webcam for my PC. I didn't know it had that. So what I want to talk... Okay, wait. If you could have any main army apart from Custodes in Militarum, what would it be? I'll get that question in just a second. Just a second. All right. So what I want to talk to you guys about real quick is playing with your vehicles, because I only got a few minutes left. If you guys want to see the next event happening, link is in my bio. Please go support them. They're going to be on Twitch. Go watch it, hang out, and continue this awesome Warhammer weekend. Thank you to Frankie and thank you for James for putting it on. You guys are awesome. You're our heroes for bringing us all this joy and all this connectivity this weekend. Seriously, you guys are amazing. Thank you. Playing with your vehicles, right? when you go to play with guard, tanks, and artillery, artillery is my favorite. It's one of the reasons I got into guard originally. I love the idea of like these big, huge, like howitzer type deals, firing massive shells into my opponents and just obliterating their army. And back then in 6th and 7th edition, we had templates and we used those, and it was kind of awful, actually. I'm not going to lie. I don't miss templates. Thank God they're gone. So many arguments at the game table. I think there's 11 models underneath that. I think it's 9. It never did go well, and people felt salty about it afterwards. So when you're playing with like artillery, you definitely got to protect it. I have a lot of infantry. Last I counted, I had 232 Cadian infantry models. I have more now. I'll count them later. Like I said, I'm going to photograph my whole army this week. I'll get the count. And you got to make sure you protect it. And not just sometimes even with one layer, depending on what your opponent has. If they can cut down your infantry and get to your artillery, you're in a world of hurt. Real quick. The biggest downfall for guard vehicles is when they get into melee. Except. Da, 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 da. For your Baneblade variants. So, these have adamantium treads. They also have a stratagem where you can make them hit on 2s. I have killed so many Primary Space Marines by meleeing them with a Baneblade variant. So, charge in and do it if you got a Baneblade variant. It doesn't work as well for the Macarius variants from Forge World. They don't have adamantium treads, and they can't melee like a Baneblade can. I mean, this thing gets 9 attacks with on full wounds. That's no joke. Then if you use the Crush Them stratagem, so it hits on 2s, it's strength 9. It's huge AP. It's multiple damage. It's like having a guaranteed hit from all your basilisks. It's amazing. So don't be afraid to melee with your Baneblade if it's going to kill what it's meleeing. Also, it can still shoot outside of melee, so that's the other great thing about these, right? Like, you can get into melee and you can still shoot, so who cares if you don't, as long as the other model's not going to kill you, who cares if you got 10 infantry stuck in front of this, like swinging at it? They're probably not going to hurt it. It's got a 3-up armor save. It's T8. It's got a lot of wounds. You're going to be good. So, get in there, melee with these suckers, and don't be afraid. Okay, don't be afraid. If you're like, oh, but Sergeant Steel, my ballistics. It's Lord of War. Doesn't go down, right? So we don't got to worry about that. But, oh, Sergeant Steel, I'm Cadian. I get reroll 1s. Hold on. Look at this. You put a Trojan behind it, and now it doesn't matter if it moved. It rerolls all its shots anyways. And you keep a Tech Priest in this sucker because it's a transport. And so if it gets hurt, then your Tech Priest jumps out and heals it. It's such a cruel strategy. I've done this a lot, actually. So keep that in mind. The other cool thing you can do is, like with the transport versions, such as like the Stormlord here, you can put Bullgrins inside or other melee units or even chaff and then charge this forward, because nobody expects a guard army to be melee oriented, especially not with your favorite tank. So go forward with it, hit your opponents, do your damage, okay? And then maybe dump out a bunch of Bullgrins and Ogrins and hurt them even more. So that's the thing about Lords of War, and so that's kind of artillery. Now with Leman Russes, it's a little trickier. With Leman Russes, you typically, they don't have non-line of sight like artillery, right? Artillery just to get to wrap and have on the table, and it can pretty much shoot everything. I mean, your shortest range artillery piece is going to be your Wyvern. It's got 48-inch range. That's still on a standard 6-foot table. That's 2/3 of the table, even if you shoved it in the far back corner. If you placed it down the middle of your board edge, if you're playing long ways, then you can pretty much shoot the entire table, except for maybe the tiny little corners opposite of that. So keep that in mind. But with Leman Russes, you need line of sight, and so you need to maneuver them. You need to get them in there. Just keep in mind about making sure that they don't get caught up in melee either. It will shut them down. And once they get in, you got one of two options. Either you hopefully get something else like Bullgrins in there to kill whatever's gotten into melee with your Leman Russes. Or you back out and you hopefully something else shoots those units that are meleeing your vehicle to death so they can't charge it again. But it's hard, right? So depends on what army you're playing, depends on what's going on. Just be very vigilant with your Leman Russes. They need to move, they need to shoot, but you can't let them get stuck in the combat. You got to let them be able to get back out of it. So with that, remember the defensive gunner stratagem, so that they can hit on 5s when doing Overwatch. That can be devastating with something like a Punisher Gatling cannon, a battle cannon, your plasma executioner cannon. You will shred your opponent. I mean, even just hitting on 5s. I know that's not a whole lot, right? But that's still pretty good. And you'd be surprised how much damage you deal. It's one less than your normal ballistic skill anyways. Do it. I have had my opponents like almost in tears as they've charged Leman Russes, and then I play defensive gunners, and they're like, I hate you. And I'm like, yes. Only for a moment, though. We shake hands at the end of the match. We're all friends. It's all good. So that's generally the play with tanks and stuff. So bear with me while I move my mic. All right. So now I'm going to take 3 minutes here and I'm going to end the stream because I want to be respectful of the next person's stream. Like I said, link is in the description below. So make sure you guys go to that stream or go to Nerd Princess's website and see what the schedule is and tune into the next person. Please. Let's keep this going. It's been awesome. So real quick questions. What other army would I collect besides Custodians Militarum? I actually have 7 armies. For those who follow me on Instagram, I recounted. I have 7 armies. I do have, I'm starting an old school Ultramarines army of all the older, smaller models. I also have a full Primaris 2,000 point Ultramarines army. I have an Imperial Fist kill team. I have Mars. I have all the Scutari and Cult Mechanicus. And I have Death Watch. You guys can see them when they're painted well. So, yeah, I'm a bit of a gaming snob, and I won't typically play or use my models until they're painted real well. But some of my Cult Mechanicus army is really far along. My Ultramarines has just started, though. And my kill team for Imperial Fist is pretty much done. I got 1 or 2 models to paint, and it's a full 125 points. So I got those things, and I got to say I'm a favorite of them. So besides those 2 armies, I probably spend a lot of it on probably Cult Mechanicus is my fullest army. I got Belisarius Call. He's one of the first character models that are painted up on high detail. So I really love that. Let's see, what's next? Any other questions? As a gunner, the artillery rules hurt my soul. Yeah. Imperial Kazakh, by the way, I like your name. I also like your profile picture. Very nice. Rattlings and a Banehammer. Oh my gosh, War Mistress. That. Ooh. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. They're heavy weapons, though. They're sniper rifles, right? Yeah. So they get -1 to hit because they still count as moving, even if they're in the transport. But that could be really cool. Oh, yeah, Vengeance for Cadia. Yeah, and I actually haven't got to play against the Disco Lord yet. I haven't gotten to. And Curlin here in the local gaming club keeps beating me down with his Eldar, but I can't wait for him to get his Chaos and for me to finally face that Disco Lord and the Knights and the Demon Engines. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, by the way, Talarn, I've been saying this since 8th edition dropped. I think Talarn are the secret sauce to the Astra Militarum. Less so now. They're actually becoming more popular. As time goes on, you see more and more people. I even saw Skari. If you guys know Skari as a international kind of level 40k player, he's even got a Talarn army now. They're amazing. Them in their armor and what they can do and moving and shooting with heavy weapons. Do it. All right, guys. It's 4:30 my time, Eastern Standard Time. And next on the agenda is Mr. Captain is on Twitch. And then half an hour from now, Misfit Toys is also doing a painting and hangout live stream on Instagram. So if you want to go see Mr. Captain now, head on over to Twitch. Links in the description of the video below. So please do that. Or you can wait half an hour and go to the next one also. But tune in. There's going to be lots of awesome stuff tomorrow for those of us here in the States. It's going to be a bit early when they start. For those of you in Australia, I'm sure it's going to be miserably late or / early. So keep watching, keep checking it out. Once again, thank you to Frankie. Thanks, James, for doing this. You guys are awesome. You all as a community are awesome. Thanks to my local gaming club. You guys are all great too, and make wonderful opponents. You guys have actually seen a lot of that one guy's stuff. His army's been in a lot of my bat reps. So that's his beautiful army. And hopefully you guys will get to see the Eldar and the Chaos sometime on my stream from Curlin as well. So thanks, Cobbles, for tuning in. Great hearing from you, bud. Miss ya, War Mistress, and the 40K guy. All of you all. You guys are all great. Really appreciate you. Stay awesome, and I hope to do another live stream and chat with you all again soon. So take care.